Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. Oh, I get here's some noise there. Like Steve said, I'm Jerry Garcia with the University Police Department. I'm a sergeant there. I've been employed with the University of Arizona since I became a police officer in 1989, starting my 25th year here. But let's just get down to the purpose why we have K-9s in law enforcement. Not just law enforcement, but also Department of Corrections. How many of you know that the Department of Corrections have K-9s? Good. Most of you don't know that, but they do have K-9s in the Department of Corrections. Bano, Lenye, Sustan. If I were to ask you, what do we have dogs in law enforcement for? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Drugs.
Yeah, speak up.
Drugs.
Drugs, to search for drugs, correct? Good. What else?
Protection.
Protection, very good. Very good terminology there, protection. Anybody else know?
Apprehension.
Apprehension, the same thing as protection, yes? Anybody else? One thing that people do not know is deterrent. Is he a big deterrent?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Some of you walking in here, see the dog there? Whoa, walk around. He's a big deterrent, especially when you see the ballistic vest on him saying police. He actually has a ballistic vest on right now. Just like I'm mandatory for us when we're in uniform, identify as a police officer. By policy, I have to have a ballistic vest. Well, it's not by policy for him, but that was given to us for free by an organization, so he wears it. So I'm using it to protect his life too, because he will do anything, like Steve said earlier, for me to protect me. Okay. So the terminology is for detection. Not only detection for drugs, but also for humans along the border, for explosives, for produce. Produce, why produce? Because of the entry into the United States. INS has dogs for that purpose, searching for vegetables and fruits that are coming in illegally to the United States. And also wildlife. Ano, Lenye, what's wildlife? Deer, javelina, elk, bighorn sheep. Game and Fish actually has 2 dogs in Arizona that detect wildlife for poachers. For poachers that people go out there and start poaching and killing animals. So detection, see, and that's the word to use for detection. It can be any of those. Now the Department of Correction has cell phone detector dogs. Why? Because cell phones are a contraband in the prison. You cannot do that. You cannot take a phone in there, period. So they actually have this, it's like a golden retriever here at Department of Corrections. And she works Douglas, Fort Grant, and Stafford most of the time. And sometimes they go up to Central Phoenix area prisons like Iman and in Florence. She's a good little dog. You know, she's very hyper too, but she works and she finds cell phones. So detection. The other one is protection. They protect who? Me, other officers, and you. From what? From being harmed from your attacker, so to speak, okay? So that is, and then the way they protect is by biting, apprehending, okay? That's the bottom line. They're not attack dogs. They're working dogs, service dogs, but they are trained to bite and hold. So protection is another purpose for dogs in law enforcement. And another thing was deterrent. Patrolling the observatory where I work. See, I'm sorry for not mentioning why I'm here in Graham County. I know the university is over in Tucson, but the University of Arizona has big money, funds with international educational institutions that they created this large binocular telescope up in the mountain along with 2 other observatories up there. So that's the main purpose why I live here in Graham County and work up in the mountain, the Mount Graham International Observatory, for that purpose. Because right now, that project up there, just the telescope, the large binocular telescope, is worth $250 million.
Cool.
With all the funds that they have put in. Just that one telescope that some of you can see as you're driving on 191 or Highway 70. $250 million. Now, if I were to spend that much money, do you think I would want to protect it? Absolutely. So that's the reason why we're still here, because of people that are opposing the telescope up in the mountain. Okay. So, deterrent. If I'm walking around the perimeter up there, or I have a dog in my patrol unit, and the dog barks, that's a big deterrent. Okay. So those are the main purposes for police dogs, or should I say just service dogs in law enforcement and corrections as well. Okay. Does anybody here have a family member in law enforcement? Yes? Good. Are they any K-9 handlers? Okay. That's right. Good. I know a lot of people say, when it comes to being a police officer, I want to be a K-9 handler. Okay. Or I want to be a firearms instructor. No, it's policies of the department. The justification to use of force. Okay. That is very important, because a lot of people think that these dogs are just out there to bite people. They're not. This dog's a sociable dog. You can see that he is calm and relaxed because I am calm and relaxed. If I start getting hyped because of my voice, I'm starting to talk to a group of people that are being disturbed, and I start talking to them with command presence, authority, saying you need to disperse from the area, he can detect my voice, and now he cues like, oh, his tone of voice has changed. And he's focused on a group of people, so I'm going to focus on them too. Okay. So it takes a lot of responsibility, as Steve said earlier, to be a K-9 handler. My department does not give me the option. They're telling me, you're taking this dog home with you. You are responsible for this dog 24/7. Okay? I spend more time with this dog than I do with my family and my wife. 10 hours at work, and the rest of the hours, the remaining, 12 hours at home with him. When I'm at work, I'm not with my wife and my children. Okay, so I spend more time with this dog than I do with my family. So that is big responsibility. Again, not only does being responsible and is one of the big traits or skills of being a K-9 handler, but also the family environment is very important. Do you think the department wants me to live in an apartment or a condominium that's 3 stories high and have to walk with the dog and then keep him at home inside the house all the time? No. I want a good confined home, a single family home with a yard, okay, and a place to secure this dog whenever I have visitors coming over. When I have visitors coming over that are friends, they're welcome into my home, I need to secure this dog. Even though I am responsible for him, I do not own this dog. The police department owns this dog. They pay for this dog. They pay for all the training that we have gone through, and they're still paying for it. Okay? Now my department makes sure that I am going to be responsible for securing the dog at home whenever I have guests, because we don't want an unintentional bite. We don't want maybe a child coming over to the dog and running up to the dog, and all of a sudden the dog takes that as a threat, and snaps right in the face and takes half of the face off. That is very critical. That's very important. So the home environment is very important. Responsibility. What makes a good, effective K-9 program is the department head, a chief, or the sheriff, whoever it is. They need to be very supportive. They need to understand that it is going to cost money to do business with this tool. This is a tool. Even though it's a living creature, it's considered a tool. Just like the tools I have in my duty belt. Okay? I use him as a tool. For what? Detecting whatever he's trained to detect, for protecting me or other officers or yourself, or deterring bad people from continuing with their inappropriate actions or violations. Okay? So the K-9 program needs to be supported from the department head. They need to understand that it's going to cost money. Okay? Yearly, I have to pay for, I shouldn't say the department pays for fees to belong to a National Police K-9 Association that we are, and also the Arizona Law Enforcement K-9 Association, 2 separate organizations involving K-9s. Okay? In addition to that, we only certify our dogs with the National Police K-9 Association. Alika doesn't have certifications, but we have requirement or suggested standards. And we train to those standards, but we also have to train, and pass certain tasks for the National Police Canine Association to get certified every year. So there's fees associated, not just to become members, but also to pay for certifications. So it costs money yearly. Does it cost money to feed this dog? Absolutely. They must pay for all the food. Veterinarian visits, they pay for all that. Okay? What else do they pay for? Dog leashes. I have a dog glue at home for him. It's his house. Not only that, but I also have a kennel. The department paid for a runner that's 6 foot by 17 feet long, and it's all secure with chain link fence and a gate. So it's going to be expensive to maintain a good canine program, and it needs to be supported by the organization. So again, going back to the responsibility of handler, it is very important. When I have to go on vacation with my family, okay, what do I do with the dog? I'm not going to take him with me. You know, my department doesn't want me to take this dog with me on vacation. No, it's my vacation, it's not his. Well, our department, luckily we have other officers that are dog lovers, and they don't mind the dogs. We have actually built 3 runners at our office. So we secure the dog at the runners there, and as I'm gone on vacation, those other officers, while they come to the shift and before they go off shift, they provide some kind of break for the dog. So he can go out and run around in the yard and feed him at the same time. So that's very important to know, what are we going to do with the dog when I go on vacation. So another example is understanding what the home environment consists of is, say for example, yesterday I went to Tucson for a mandatory meeting, supervisor's meeting. I did not take the dog because the dog was not required to go with me. So he stayed at home. So who's responsible for the dog at home now?
Your family.
My family. Absolutely. My family. So it's important that the family gets along with the dog, because they're going to have to take care of the dog at home. My wife, she's a dog lover to have. She would probably have 10 dogs at home if I let her. If I let her. Yeah, I'm being cocky because she's not here right now. But so the dog needs to understand that he knows that he's got to know his place at home. At home, I am the alpha. At work, I am the alpha. He is the beta, the second one in command when we're working. Okay? He needs to understand that I am the master, and plain and simple. At home, it doesn't work that way. She's a master. No, just kidding. But at work, he needs to do what I tell him to do. Okay? And that's very important. At home, he understands I'm also the alpha. But if I'm gone, he needs to understand that he doesn't become the alpha automatically. My wife does. And she's the one that's controlling him. And he needs to know that. And for some reason, these dogs condition themselves to this, and they know it. And that's the reason why we want sociable dogs. It's dogs that we can actually turn on and off like a light switch. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. How can you turn a dog off and on? My dog, I keep telling him to sit, he doesn't sit. Well, I mean, yes, I understand that. But that's the reason why we train with these dogs periodically. Actually, once a week, we try to do that. So the home environment is very important. Okay? And the department head needs to understand and needs to know that it is very important to support the K-9 program. Because what happens if they select an officer to be a K-9 handler and that officer is not responsible and liable? There's going to be legal ramifications. There might be definitely civil, where they're going to be sued civilly, but there may also be criminal. If for some reason my dog bit someone unintentionally while working, okay, I'm going to get sued, my department's going to get sued, but there is a possibility I could be charged as well for assault or maybe even aggravated assault, depending on the seriousness of the injury. That would depend on the county attorney. If the victim wants to pursue it, and then maybe we get a lot of people gathering together and saying, hey, this officer should be charged for not taking care of the dog. It could happen. We have heard horror stories about canine handlers leaving their dogs in the vehicles and dying. It's unfortunate. It's happened. One of them was unfortunately charged with a crime in Phoenix and Maricopa. Okay, so understand that it is important to know what your position is, the canine handler for the department. And the department needs to know that that officer knows their position with the department. Okay? Let's get into training. When we first get these dogs, they are not fully trained because if they're fully trained, they cost a lot of money. This dog, we selected him because he does have the capabilities to be a police dog when we first select him. Okay? And he's what we call a green dog because he hasn't been fully trained. He has the capabilities of being a dog, a police service dog. Does anybody know, give me an idea how much this dog, green dog, will cost or cost us to become a police dog? The very first time we went to go buy him from a vendor. Anybody throw a number out there?
1,200.
5,000, I heard. What was the number?
1,200.
1,200?
8,000.
Pardon?
8,000.
Very good, very close. $9,000 for a green dog. A green dog is not certified, he's not fully trained. Now, that was just to buy the dog. We had to go to California, Riverside, Adlerhurst, K-9. And we went with my K-9 trainer and myself to go select the dog. We went to go test dogs. It took us 2.5 days. Did they have to pay for the room for us? Did they have to pay for meals? Did they have to pay for gasoline? You got to take that into consideration. That adds up. Okay? Once we selected this dog, we bring him back home and we start training with this dog. Now, initially, we do have a K-9 Academy here in Arizona. It's with the Department of Corrections. But with my other 2 dogs, I did go through the academy, but my chief decided, you know what? You and the trainer have been through 2 dogs already. This is my 3rd dog. I don't think you guys need to go to the K-9 Academy. You guys are capable. And besides, the other sergeant who was a K-9 trainer, certified K-9 trainer, since he was a trainer, the chief says, you guys train him. Well, we did. Okay, but I consider myself a trainer because I train with him daily when I go to work. I need to keep him proficient to make sure that he meets the standards of the National Police K-9 Association when I go up and test once a year. He is constantly being trained. At home, I don't have to train because that's his rest at peace, relax. You know. But if I say, for example, on my day off, I want to come over to the college, beautiful grass over here. They love that. So do I. But they love doing obedience in the grass. I come over here and I maybe work with him. But he's been a little rascal lately because I was in surgery for 4 months and I didn't train with him because I was not allowed to handle a dog. Actually, when I was in surgery, they took him away from me because they did not want me to take care of the dog because they thought I would get re-injured again. So fortunately, the other canine handler says, oh, I'll take him. I'll watch him. I'll watch their dog and I'll watch my dog. And the chief approved it. Very nice of him. Instead of having to board the dog somewhere. Okay? But training is very important. What's the number one? Anybody tell me, what's the number one skill that's really very important for a dog handler and her team? Obedience. Obedience sets the foundation on having the dog do what you tell him to do. That's very important. That is the foundation to canine training. If you have obedience, you can train the dog to do just about anything that a dog can actually do for a service dog. Okay? But before we search the dog, select the dog, I'm sorry. Before we start searching or selecting the dog, once we find that the vendor has purchased dogs, we do not buy dogs that are bred here in the United States. Okay? And most police agencies will not buy dogs that are bred here in the United States. The majority of agencies throughout the United States purchase dogs from overseas. It's either Holland, Germany, or Czechoslovakian Republic. Okay? We don't have the money to fly over there and select dogs. Fortunately, there are vendors that go over there. Once they have a batch of dogs, they select 12, 25, depending on how much money the vendor has to buy dogs. They fly them back, ship them back to the United States to their vendors. Once they have these dogs, they send out mass information. Okay, we just got back from Holland and we got this shipment of dogs. You guys need dogs? Come on over. we conduct tests. As soon as we go into the vendor, we conduct tests on these dogs. And we're looking for drives. That is the number one word or term that's used to select the dog. You got to know what drives they have. For Bono, he's got a good home drive. If I let him out loose, he will automatically keep looking for me. Okay, he starts searching, he'll look for me. If I call him, he comes back to me. His home is with me, and that's what I mean by home drive. He's got a good protection drive. He's trained to protect. He's trained to bite and hold. Okay? He also has a good hunting drive. Hunting drive is where he's searching for whatever he's trained to search for, humans. Okay? And he doesn't get bored. He doesn't get distracted. I gave him a command, go find that guy or that gal, whatever it is. And he's searching and searching and searching and searching until maybe he finds them or cannot find them. If there's nobody there, of course, he's not gonna find anybody. But that's what I mean by hunting drive. A prey drive. A prey drive is when I get the ball. I got his number one reward here. He hasn't seen it, but if I throw this ball, you see how he perked up? If I throw this ball, he's gonna chase it. Unfortunately, this prey drive cannot hit. Bono, no sé. He's getting bored. Lenin, a prey drive is whenever they see a rabbit, and the rabbit takes off, or a cat, they want to chase it. That's a prey drive. Okay, that can work in your behalf or not work in your behalf if you're out there searching for something. You know? But unfortunately, it's a natural drive that these dogs have. Okay, so those are the most important drives that we look for in a dog. And of course, protection. Sustan, for protection, for example, on some of the tests, I have a stick. And all of a sudden I'm walking around, and I turn and I charge the dog with the stick. He's not going to cower it away. He's going to stand his ground like, come on, let's go at it. All right? Or he may just attack you because you attacked him. You showed some aggression. So that's what I mean by protection. He is going to stand his ground and fight until he can't fight anymore. Okay? So that's very important about selecting a dog. And the training is very important. Training, especially the obedience. That's the foundation. So far, any questions? I'm here just blabbing my mouth. And it seems like some of you maybe want to ask a question or not. No? Is everybody understanding everything I'm giving them? The terminology? Trying to explain everything in detail? Okay. What else can we talk about as purpose for K-9s in law enforcement? The selection of dogs, the training, the home environment, and the responsibility.
Jerry, maybe they don't understand about the family history and how the selection works over in Holland and how specific that is, why you get the best dogs here.
Exactly. Thank you. Very good point. The reasons why we do not breed or purchase dogs that are bred in the United States is because there are no regulations. You can breed any dog with any other dog. It can be a mix. Over and overseas, you must have a permit, a certifications to breed dogs. And they keep the pedigree. The pedigree means that it's the same breed of dog every time. Okay? They have done some tests where they have the two most common breeds in law enforcement for police dogs is German Shepherds or Belgian Malinois. Everybody know what the Belgian Malinois is like? I mean, he's a real short hair, brown dog. He looks like an oversized Chihuahua. They're very high-strung dogs. You know, very good dogs. A lot of agencies are going to Belgian Malinois and not going to German Shepherds. We found that we stick to German Shepherds. Why? That's what the chief wants. That's fine. If the chief wants to have Glocks for duty, fine. If he says next year, I don't want Glocks, there's a Smith & Wesson that I want now on duty, then he'll make a decision for Smith & Wesson. So it's whatever the chief wants. There's some chiefs out there saying, you know what, I just want a good dog. And I don't care what he looks like. He can be the ugliest dog, I just want a good dog, period. Okay? But it's either going to be a German Shepherd or a Belgian Malinois. They have done some crossovers by breeding a Belgian Malinois and a German Shepherd, and they call them Dutch Shepherds, and they have worked out pretty good. So you get to see more Dutch Shepherds out there, which is a mix of both the Belgian Malinois and the German Shepherd. But overseas, they must have some kind of certification or permit to breed dogs. Okay? And that is very important. You want to keep that pedigree. Okay? Shepherds are very known, German Shepherds are very known for hip dysplasia. Okay? And here in the United States, that's very common because they start breeding dogs with any other kind of dog. I'm not saying that a pedigree dog is not going to have hip dysplasia. It's possible. Actually, my first dog, no, my second dog, Lobo, had hip dysplasia. It's common. It can happen. Yeah. So that's the reason why we select dogs from overseas. Nothing from within the United States. And all these vendors know it, and they ship, they go and fly over to wherever it is they're buying dogs from and ship them back. It costs money. It costs money to do business. Okay. Another important thing is the vehicles that they provide us with. Do we want to provide the K-9 handler with a cage unit inside the car? Absolutely. We don't want this dog, if we roll down the window, he can just jump out. We want some kind of barrier when we open up the windows so you can get some circulation, some air, so that he won't get out. Okay? So it costs money. So I drive a Ford F-250, Super Duty. It's a crew cab. It's got 4 doors. The back seat is removed, and American Aluminum, which they're located out of Florida, they have actually, we told them, and we called them and said, they had never made, because I think our agency was the very first one with the F-250 crew cab. We called them and said, hey, can you get the specs from an F-Ford 250 from your dealership over there and build us a K-9 cage for us, and we'll pay for it. No problem. They went over to the Ford dealer, got the specifications and measurements, welded up a cage unit and sent it to us, and fit right into our K-9 unit. They also put barriers on the windows, back windows, and then they also made like, it's like bars, prison bars, but they're aluminum, so that if I got the AC, he's getting some air to the backside areas. You know, each one of those aluminum cages for that unit is $6,000. So it costs money to do business. Okay? This dog will do anything like Steve said for me. He will. Okay? And I would do just about everything for him except take a bullet. He will take a bullet for me. I won't take a bullet for him. If he's being shot and then I'm being shot at, I'm going to remain in cover. Unfortunately, he's going to be on his own. That sounds harsh, but even though he's a breeding animal and I love dogs, okay, because I've always had dogs in my lifetime, I will not take a bullet for him. He can be replaced. I cannot be replaced. I can be replaced by another officer to do my job, but I cannot be replaced for my family. And all he wants for his well-behaved work is a ball. What do we want whenever we go to work?
Money.
Money. Hey, very good. You're in the right track, young lady. Okay? I work for money. I work for benefits. He does not work for money. All he works for is his toy. And for me to bottle seats, that's a good boy, yeah. The praise that I just give him, look at how excited he gets. That's all he works for, is to satisfy the master. See how he is? Okay? And that's amazing. It's amazing that these dogs are so loyal to the master and to the family that they live with. Good boy, Bono. Yeah. Boost. Boost. Jose. Lenye. Bono. Lenye. Sustan. My commands. Anybody recognize the language?
German?
Not German.
Czech.
Good try though. Excuse me?
Check.
Czech. Because he came from Czech Republic, so. I know you want the ball. But since he came from Czech Republic, I kept the command in Czech. My first two dogs, go. Wait.
That's Czech also.
Yeah. My first two dogs were German. Okay. I felt that it was better for me to learn the Czech commands just for the dog than having to try to train him back to my conditioned German commands. And sometimes even when we're training every once in a while, initially, but not now, I usually I would start giving a German command. He would just like look at me like, what? Yeah, he's never heard of that before. So then oh yeah, it's Czech. So and then I give him the command. Okay. How many words or terms do I use for commands in Czech? There's about 7. One is go out and search and bite. The other one is to track. Okay, to track. The other one is to sit down. Okay. The other one is to speak. That's 6, right? And the other one is to bite. Yeah. Or to release. To release.
Lay down?
Lay down, down. Yeah. To release. Because when he's in the bite, and that guy is giving up, or that girl is giving up, we want to be able to have him release from the bite and come back to me. So there's only like 7 or 8 words in Czech that we use. So it's not like I'm full fluent in Czech, okay? I talked about tracking. Bono's a good tracker. He's not certified in tracking, but he's a good tracker. Our department doesn't want us to certify in tracking. The main purpose is for protection up at the observatory. But he is a good tracker, and that's another thing that we use dogs for, is for tracking. The Department of Corrections. And that's human detection. That goes back to the detection, because they're detecting an odor that they're searching for. The Department of Corrections has bloodhounds, which is the #1 tracking dog in the world. Okay, you can train that dog to track either lions, raccoons, or humans. Okay. And the long flappy ears serve a purpose for a bloodhound. And that is when they're tracking, they want to keep that scent cone between the ears so they can continue on the track. Okay. That's something that I didn't know when I first started K-9 or started with tracking. So that's very nice. And bloodhounds can only be trained for tracking. They cannot be trained for biting. Okay. So a Department of Correction is tracking a prisoner that escaped. They got the bloodhounds, but behind the bloodhounds they got what? The protection dogs. They actually have protection dogs in the prison. Okay. So now they're following the hound. They got a handler and working the first hound. They might have a backup hound to give that first hound a break, but then they got also patrol dogs in the back. So in case they do find the prisoner and does not want to surrender, they can deploy the dog to go out and apprehend the prisoner by biting and holding. Okay. We try to train once a week with Department of Correction dogs here in Grant County, Stafford. They're the ones from Fort Grant and the Stafford prison. For some reason it hasn't happened lately. That's because they got a large turnover in their K-9 program, so they're going to the K-9 Academy that they put on, and it's 13, I think it's not 13, 8 weeks. I think it's 8 weeks of K-9 Academy. The bond that the K-9 handler and the dog have is very important. We are two separate living creatures, but we need to know how to work together to become one effective team. Okay? I need to know how to read this dog. If for some reason, see, he's relaxed right now, so I'm relaxed. But when he was over here sitting down, all of a sudden his ears perked up and he was looking out the window because somebody was walking. I read him, and I could see that somebody was walking through there. So just by me reading his body language, his body gestures, is very important. Okay? That's we need to become one team. We cannot be two opposite people butting heads all the time. And he needs to understand that the handler is the master. Usually, I actually was given a dog to try to certify and become a police service dog for our agency, but I only could handle him for about 2.5 months, because every time I would correct him because he was doing bad behavior, he would come up and try to attack me. Okay. I finally gave up and I told the commander, sorry man, this dog is a liability dog. And we know it, because if he's coming after the handler every time he's being corrected because of bad behavior, he's not going to listen to me when he's out there actually working. You know? So it turned out that they got me my second police service dog that I had, Lobo. That was opening up another avenue for K-9s. But any questions so far? None at all? Yes, ma'am.
Can you have other dogs in your home while you have a K-9?
Very good question, exactly. Very good question. Yes, there is the possibility of dogs not getting along, especially with him, because he's going to try to be the alpha of all the dogs in the home environment. But yes, we've actually had personal dogs and police service dogs in our family, and they interact. In fact, my department, when we retired the police service dogs, my last 2 dogs only worked 6.5 years each. After that, they retired them. And they retired them because of medical conditions, or maybe they're just too old to continue to work. But so, our department gives us the choice to keep that dog after he's retired. So now he's considered my dog. He's no longer the state dog or the police department dog. They signed him over to me, and I also signed a contract saying I am totally responsible for this dog from now on. Well, in my last 2 dogs, of course, I had retired dogs, but then we have to give, the department decided we want to get you another dog though. Okay? So now I have a retired police dog, and now I've got a working police dog at home. Okay? You see a problem with that? Absolutely. 2 alpha dogs wanting to dominate the yard. It took my wife and I maybe 3 weeks for my first dog and my second dog to get along. Okay, that was very important. After a while, after we trained them, it worked out. We could let them run free together out in the yard. You know, every once in a while they would get in each other's back. I mean, you know, and start letting the other person, the other dog, say, you know, just stay away from me. I'm not in the mood to deal with you today. You know, just like we do as humans. You know, just stay back. I'm having a bad day. Okay?
But Chivo ran them both.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have at home a little mutt, and he's about 9 years old, and he's only like maybe 35 pounds, and he's an inside dog. He's my wife's dog, and that little dog thinks he owns the yard. Whenever they come out free, so this dog, you know, he plays with them. He just slaps them around, and Chivo, that's his name, Chivo, just starts growling and barking at him like, leave me alone, you know, just leave me alone. And this guy just comes up, puts Chivo's neck in his mouth, you know, just like wanting to play. I mean, this guy could actually kill Chivo with just one bite, but he doesn't, because he knows his place. He knows his place. Training the dogs, yeah, I mean, it just depends. There are some dogs out there that, even though they're working dogs, they cannot have another dog near them. Like, for example, this dog and the other working dog that we have for the police department here at the Mount Graham International Observatory, they do not get along. We have to be very careful when we're training. Very careful when we're training. But anytime you have a male dog that's trained to the capabilities that they can, you know, what they can do, they want to be alpha. They want to be number 1. Any questions?
What about words of advice for them as they become officers and a K-9 unit is out of the vehicle working?
You as a citizen, if you for some reason come across a K-9 team, this is the K-9 team right here, dog and handler, and you're doing a ride along, say for example, with the police department, do not think that the dog just automatically accepts you, okay? They do not accept officers in uniform. Okay, the officer does not, or the citizen cannot just come up and come up to the handler and say, hey, how you doing? Pat him in the back, try to reach over and try to shake the hand. The dog will see that as a threat. Somebody trying to attack me. He doesn't know that this officer or this civilian is trying to be friendly. But at the same time, somebody taps me, he knows somebody's touching me, and he doesn't like that. So he takes that as a threat, and he's going to protect me, and he will probably bite. So just ask the handler, is your dog sociable? Is it okay if we pet him? And those are questions that are very important, okay? What do you want me to do? I mean, if they tell you to stay in the car, stay in the car. Okay? If they tell you to stay behind me, because if you get behind the K-9 team and you're doing a search, they know, the dog knows that they are part of the pack now, because the alpha is always on front. And I have accepted the people that are behind me as part of the pack. Okay? So it's very careful that you do not take it for granted just because you're with the police, riding along with the police officer as an observer, that the dog is going to say, hey, yeah, he's okay. This dog will bite another police officer if I tell this dog to go out and bite at home. Okay. So it's very important that you understand that these dogs, by you reaching over towards a handler, they take that as a threat. This dog is trained and certified to protect me under the handler protection title. One of the scenarios on the handler protection is, for the National Police K-9 Association, is I put down my dog, I go over to an individual, do an FI, field interview, I'm making a contact there. Okay, I'm talking to the person, and all of a sudden that person attacks me by pushing me. I don't even have to give my dog a command. He automatically engages on that person because I am being attacked. That's the handler protection scenario. And he should do that without me giving him a command. And another thing is release him from the bite. That's very important. Release him. Once the dog is biting and that person is giving up, I surrender, get this dog off of me, I surrender, I give up, I give up. I give the dog the command to come off the bite, and he should come back to me. This is the type of tool that you can use for sending, deploying, and at the same time, stop the force before he bites by recalling the dog back to me. For example, I got a person over there that's being irate. He's got a stick, and he's threatening us. Okay, and I said, drop the stick, sir, you're under arrest for aggravated assault, or whatever assault he committed with another person. Drop the stick. If you don't drop the stick, I will send my dog, and he will bite you. If he doesn't, and I warn him 2 or 3 times, I send the dog. And all of a sudden he realizes, oh no! That's not what they say though. He goes, I give up, I give up. He drops the stick and he goes like this. I need to be able to recall my dog back before he bites him. And Bono's pretty good at doing that, recalling. Because after he surrenders, and if there's still a bite, that would be considered excessive force. Because the suspect already surrendered. Okay. That's part of the certification as well, the recall. Now, with the gun, if you fire a bullet, can you recall it? No. That's why it's nice to have these dogs. But one thing to consider is, when you go to a gunfight, you always take a gun. No, you always take as many guns as you can. Not just one gun. Okay? You do not take a dog to a gunfight. A lot of people, officers say, oh, why don't you send your dog? He's got a gun. No. He's going to kill my dog automatically. Okay. The only time I'm gonna send a dog in the gun is if I'm at that point where I'm giving up, I'm maybe going unconscious, I'm sending the dog. Of course. Because when it comes to battling for your life, there are no rules. There are no rules. And it's okay to cheat to survive. It's not good to cheat in class, okay, but when it comes to surviving and living, who cares if you're cheating? Cheat, as long as it's within the law. Any questions so far? None at all? Yes, sir.
What is the worst situation you've been in with your dog?
With this dog, not a whole lot, but my second dog, there was actually an incident that happened here in town where officers, the suspect left her, 4 or 5-year-old girl on the wrong side of the highway. We eventually stopped the vehicle on 191, and the guy got off with a knife. And we had tasers. They deployed 4 cartridges in the tasers. None of them actually stuck, the prongs stuck on the suspect. It was a very windy day, and tasers are not good in the wind. For some reason, they were not sticking, so he was jumping around, and he had a real loose shirt, and the loose shirt was only, the prongs were only sticking on the shirt and not on the body to make that effective taser stop the suspect. So I came to the point, I wasn't going to send my dog with the knife. He had a knife because he would have stabbed him. I know he would have. And at that point, we had like 5 or 6 officers with guns drawn out. We didn't want to shoot him because he really wasn't threatening us. He was like, come on. He had the physical capability, but he did not have the present opportunity because he wasn't close enough for us to fear for our lives. But we still had our guns drawn. So at that point, I said, I gotta distract this guy so I can send the dog local. Not this one, it's local. So what I did is I got my baton, my expandable baton, pulled it out, okay, and I had it in my right hand because I had the dog in my left. Because why? If I need to use my gun, I can just drop this and I can draw my weapon. So I approached the guy, I said, drop the knife, with the dog, drop the knife, and he didn't. So I went like this, and he looked up at the baton, and that's when I deployed Lobo and bit him on the leg, and the guy went down. So he needed to be distracted. It's okay, but he needed to be distracted so I can deploy the dog. Pano, nose. Pano, leñe. I know. So that was the most critical incident that I've been with the dog. But with this dog, I mean, I've had him since '08. That's been what, 3 years, 4 years, going on 4 years. It'll be 4 years in May. Luckily, I have not had to utilize my dog. Bono is not certified to detect drugs, produce, wildlife, cell phones, explosives. Okay, my chief did not want us to do that. My first 2 dogs were narcotic certified: marijuana, cocaine, crystal meth, and heroin. But he's not certified for any type of detection. I shouldn't say any type because he's certified to detect humans. Humans that are hiding from us. Whenever I send this dog to go out and find a human, I give a command. I got the opportunity, the time. You in the building, come on out, identify yourself, I'll send the dog and he will bite you. And I give the command. Okay? I send the dog. And if he finds him, he's going to bite him. If he doesn't find him, if he finds him but cannot get to him because he's behind the door, but the door is a barrier between the dog and the suspect, Bono will stay there and bark and bark and bark like, let me at this guy. I want to get to him. Once I hear him barking, I know that he's located the person, but he hasn't bit him because he's barking. So that means the guy is hiding behind some kind of door or barrier that the dog can't get to him. So at that time, of course, we move in tactically, start clearing rooms, and then we just leave the dog there, barking and barking and barking and barking until we start clearing rooms. And once we get into that room, to that door, if it's unlocked, you, suspect, come on out with your hands out, or I'm going to send the dog in to bite you. We give them another warning. Hopefully, they surrender. If they don't, send the dog in. And if there's no barrier at that time between the dog and the suspect, he's going to bite him. So he's trained in protection. It's called patrol, actually. Patrol and handler protection. That's what he's trained to do. He's not narcotic certified or produce or anything like that. Any questions?
How do you become a K-9 officer?
Again, they actually have an oral board testing process. They ask you questions about use of force, which is very important because they don't want any legal civil matter ramifications as far as unintentional bites or excessive force. So they ask you a written test, for our department, a written test, an oral board, and then the final selection from the chief. And they, just ask you questions about your home environment. Do you have any dogs at home? Those are very important questions to be asking. Okay. They give you maybe a hypothetical situation. What would you do if this were to happen and you were on patrol and you had your dog? What would you do? Okay. So it's important that you know what policy is for your department and what the law is when it's justifiable for a police officer to use force. Any other questions?
Is he trained to stay on your left side?
Yes, very good question. Very good. I'm a right-hander. My gun is on my right side. Okay. For show dogs, if I'm a right-hander, I would have them on my right side because this is my strong side. I can control them. But for police service dogs, he's on my left side. Why? Because I got my gun here. If I have to draw my weapon. Okay. That's the reason why. I want to control him here. I can control him on my left. Even he's not really going to tug or pull away from me because when he's healing next beside me, he might be distracted by something. He might try to go over there, and I just give him a little tug, and he comes back in line. But yes, I keep him on my support hand side so that I can use my strong hand if I have to draw my weapon. Very good question. Very good question. Any other questions? I don't know.
All right.
What I'm going to do is pardon?
They have a code test, so how about having some talking?
Have some talking.
They have a code test to do, so how about let's see some talking?
Okay. Oh, Bano. Bano. That's a boy. Seats. The command to speak. Bano. Seats. Steke. 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 Let's go. Steke. 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 Yeah, good boy. Is that a big deterrent there? No? Yes?
Yeah.
Speak up. I want to hear something. Okay. Final nose. Final seats. Sustan. You can see how strong he is about the ball. You ready? I'm going to go that way, Steve. Here. Nose. Separation anxiety. I'm going to demonstrate what separation anxiety is. Final seats. Sustan. Final seats. He's hyped up now. I'm going to walk around. It's quiet. Go. I'm going to walk around, and he's going to keep an eye on where I'm going because he's trained to protect me. But he's also getting a little anxious because I'm not near him. And he's keeping an eye on me. Now I'm going to tuck down over here so he won't see me.
Seat.
Oh, see. Sustan. No se. As soon as he lost sight of me, you can see how he got a little nervous and he got up and said, "Where did he go?" No se. Seats. Sustan. Sustan. Reinforce the command to stay. And hopefully he'll stay, not embarrass me. Now that I come back and he stayed, I am going to praise him because he did stay after I told him to stay the second time. Good boy, that's a good boy. And he's rewarded with the ball for good behavior. Nose it. Hey, that's a good boy. Here, nose it. Cheeks. Good time. Any questions? Not at all? Okay, that's it for the demonstration and the presentation on police service dogs and law enforcement. Whatever field you get in, best of luck to you guys.
Thank you much. Round of applause.